Hi guys, what's going on, and welcome back to another episode of Total War Arena. So, today we're going to be taking a look at the Tier 7 Legionary Cavalry. So I finally finished off the Equites at Tier 6, and I've got these guys unlocked. So let's have a quick look. Thankfully we're quite lucky in the sense that a lot of the upgrades that we did on the Equites at Tier 6 have transferred across. So I have access to both the upgraded units of armour and one of the upgraded greaves. So this posed a bit of a question over what armour to use. They're not really, one isn't any better than the other, but they both have different properties. So the Strengthened Plain Cuirass basically has increased body armour and defence, and gives a slight increase to charge impact, but gives no movement speed benefit. Whereas the sort of the lighter chainmail gives 4% movement speed bonus, but gives less body armour and melee defence. But personally, I find the Romans to be very slow, and that's their biggest drawback for me, so anything that increases movement speed is a massive bonus. And the same is true with the Greaves. The Republican Greaves give movement speed and a little body armour, whereas the other ones give a similar amount of body armour but sacrifice movement speed for turn speed. Well, I would rather just have flat out movement speed as a bonus, to be honest, so that's why I've gone with them. So I'm not going to bother with either of these two. Obviously, I need to get the shield next, which will be the next upgrade, followed by the spear. And then I probably will do the helmet upgrades. The superior coolness does give quite a significant increase to body armor, actually. So that's an upgrade I think that's worth having. So I probably will do that one before we head on to the Italian nobles. So having a quick look at their stats and abilities, we've changed the morale buff that we had at tier 6, which I didn't find to be very useful. Very occasionally it would be helpful, but by and large it's not. And we've gone back to Vicious Strikes, which is a far more useful ability. The increased melee weapon damage obviously is always a good thing. You do get the movement speed penalty, but normally you're using this when you're already into combat, so it doesn't really matter. You're not moving once you're in a fight, so it's basically just a 10% melee weapon damage buff, which is always useful. Obviously, as I always bang on about, I'm using consumables. Always use consumables. There's still only the same basic 4 to choose from for the Romans still, which is a shame. I really feel they should introduce more consumables for the Romans, more options. But I've stuck with the Warhorse as I was using at tier 6. The body armor, the impact damage, particularly since I sacrificed the impact damage on the other type of armor that I could have used. So I feel that's the best of the 4 in terms of options. And I've run that on all my units. So stat-wise, how do they compare to the Equites? Well, by and large, they're actually pretty similar. Nothing really changes. The base movement speed is the same, although we've got a little bit more now. We've got the our various armor upgrades. Survivability and defense are all very similar. If we just hop these guys up, they have a slightly higher. Our units have a slightly higher aggression, slightly higher defense and survivability. But obviously, the Equites I had fully upgraded with the shield and everything, so they're sort of a bit higher for the moment. But in time, once the Legionary Cavalry are fully upgraded, you'll see that these guys will be better. So we've got that to look forward to. So they're basically just an improved version of the Equites, nothing particularly advanced about them. So with that said, I think it's time to hop straight into a battle and see how we get on. So I'll see you in the battle. So, we're loading in on the snow-covered Alps map. And as is the problem with Tier 7, we have got fairly brutal matchmaking. We've got some Tier 10 Legitus Roman cavalry on our team, which means invariably the enemy has probably got some Tier 10 units as well. So that's going to make it pretty hard, and that is the real big problem with any unit past Tier 6 at the moment in this game, is that then as soon as you hit Tier 7 you just get the most brutal matchmaking. You get flung straight into Tier 10 games, which obviously makes it pretty hard for Tier 7 units to face off against anything Tier 10. So really you just have to be really careful and look for opportunities. Hopefully I shall now demonstrate this well, but there's a significant chance we're just going to get caught out by an enemy high tier unit and we're just going to get mullered. But we shall see, we can but try. Really the main thing to watch out for are going to be things like if they've got any higher tier barbarian cavalry, because they'll have the speed on us, and by being that much higher tier they'll be able to fight us effectively in an engagement as well. So that's something to watch out for. So like that, so some Blood Raiders, but they're Tier 7, so I'm not so worried about them. But they're going to pass completely behind us. Yes, they are. I'm going to cut round back, see if I can possibly get in front of them and force a fight. I would be very pleased if I could force a fight against some Blood Raiders, but they are moving with such speed. We're going to be hard pressed, I would have thought, to get here in time to catch up with them before they exit this forest over here. This is their only exit route they have got. There they are. We're going to go for the charge. A little early perhaps, but we might slam into the side of one of the units. Okay, that went quite well. So we're going to force that fight. I'm going to immediately activate Oath of Perseverance because we're going to be slammed into by the enemy units, and I wanted to get that charge deflect bonus. I can't click where I want, so I want to get these routing units, try and kill that unit pretty much straight away, which is what I wanted. Now I'm going to focus my attention back on these guys. They've entered frenzy mode, but we've got friendly chosen swordsmen charging out the forest, which is exactly what we wanted. Oh, this is a bit of an intense start to the game, but this is good. This is sort of how we wanted things to go. So it's just a case now of it's now into a fight. These Blood Riders are fair units. I play these. I can finish the Tier 7 Blood Riders, and they're good units. They're a sword fighting unit, so they're not so bad in hand-to-hand combat. They're at least a match for our Legionary Cavalry, and these guys are probably significantly more upgraded than I am. So they're going to give us a fair fight, which obviously they are doing. But ultimately we shall win this engagement, I will be confident. I think our guy's trying to push his swordsman round to get more on the flank of these Blood Riders. We're doing a reasonable amount of damage to them, where most of our units are pushing down to half health, but if we can kill both of these units, then that will be an entire player out of the game. So they're starting to waver a little bit of morale now. They might break in a minute, these guys, so we'll just focus our attention on these, which they're now doing. Try and get them a little bit as they rout, and then we'll focus on these guys as well. Okay, so we've got quite a good amount of damage on them, although unfortunately a few of them got away there at the end. So let's regroup. We're still in Oath of Perseverance mode, so we can't really move anywhere at the moment until we're kicked out of that, which we've now done. So we're about half health on all our units, but we did quite a lot of damage there from equivalent tier units, so I'm pretty pleased with how that panned out. There's someone absolutely flying across the battle there, so there's some nobles, there's some tier 10 barbarian cavalry. Most of our units seem to be in full retreat here, so I think we've got to be a bit careful. Though noble horses have engaged some spear infantry who seem to be retreating, and we've got a lot more enemy cavalry pushing straight into this valley, which is a little bit of a worry that we're going to get cut off here. So let's push down into this base. They're in, what are they, Italian noble horse? Yeah, so they're the unit above us. They're the tier 8 Roman sword cavalry, which we can look forward to getting in the future. But for now, I do not want to get involved in this fight. There's far too many enemies, and they're all a lot better and higher tier than I am. People are being slaughtered. The unit numbers are dropping very quickly. Obviously, we need to loiter around base because I'm the only person here, and we're going to have to make a defense soon, which is obviously going to be a problem for us. Those Blood Raiders have reappeared. I don't know if they know I'm here or not. They must be able to see me through this gap here, I would have thought, and be aware of my presence in that sense. The problem is all these extremely high tier. I don't really want to face off against these Italian. Oh, this horseman's going to have me, so we're going to turn on him, and activate the charge early on. Sort of missed. Did not go quite according to plan. Obviously we don't have... So quickly activate Vicious Strikes. I've activated a War Cry. We're struggling on morale here, and obviously I'm not anywhere near being able to enter Oath of Perseverance mode again because I used that earlier. So it's going to be a bit of fight. Both of these guys are going to out-skill me in melee. I think this is going to be a fight I am not going to win. And certainly if we get more Italian nobles, we sort of missed there. But Scipio has died, which is obviously bad. That means we can't. We'll reactivate Vicious Strikes and War Cry, but it's a bit of a forlorn hope, a bit of a last stand. We managed to do a little bit of damage to their Italian noble cavalry, but unfortunately that is the end of us. A bit of a hard one to know what to do there. I sort of got a bit caught out. Those the tier 10 barbarian noble horse are exceedingly fast, and you know, once they've locked onto me, there's no way I'm going to be able to escape from them without them forcing me into a fight, which obviously they intended to do. And I would rather turn and face them than just be caught in the rear from a charge, which would obviously completely kill me. At least we did a little bit of damage to them before they got us. So it doesn't look... Oh, well, I don't know. We've got quite a few units returning to our base now, so it could be interesting. We've got various people, some Romans fighting against 3 Hellenic pikemen. So there's a bit of a fight going on down there, and quite a few enemy units appear, so we might be able to force them a bit of a victory on this mini battle in our base, which will obviously be very good. These Romans are routing here, which is exactly what we want. I do love the yellow on these Hellenic pikemen, they look very cool. But I would have thought that would be a battle they're going to be losing. I'm surprised they're not routed, to be honest. Those Romans have routed again. So we are inflicting heavier casualties on them. It's whether we can kill them quickly enough before these cluster of enemies here get a chance to regroup. If we can kill them with our sort of superior numbers, you know, that would be very good and allow us probably to win this battle. And friendly base is obviously now secure, which is obviously one of the biggest causes of loss is obviously base cap, which doesn't look like it's going to happen. So there we go, and then those units are just routing the last of a few Romans. Don't blame them for routing, completely surrounded, and they've gone. Oh, a blood raider has survived. That's brilliant. One man lives. Okay, so that's an interesting situation. So we've got... Oh, and their noble horses survived as well. It's interesting to see what sort of speed. So these guys have a base movement speed of 9.2, which is far faster than me. Interestingly, they're running with Vercingetorix. Something I'm really noticing quite regularly actually recently is that a lot of barbarian a lot of barbarian cavalry players now use Vercingetorix over Arminius, which is interesting. It's not something I've tried myself, although maybe something I should. I've not really looked at his benefits, but it's more, yeah, he gets the impact damage and charge, and the defiance, which gives the increased weapon damage, which is obviously good. But that's similar to sort of Frenzy. I guess I feel like he misses out on momentum, which I quite like to give the real massive speed boost to your cavalry units. But you know, given that the barbarians are the quickest units on the battlefield anyway, maybe that is an unnecessary speed boost. It's better by having the flames. So, ooh, those tier 7 barbarians took a massive hit then as the Romans slammed in. They're being flamed, these Praetorians. These spear infantry are trying to sort of stay formed up. I'm not convinced this battle is necessarily going to go in our favour. The Romans are taking a little bit of fire damage, I would have thought, which is obviously a good thing, but whether it's going to realistically be enough to tip the tide, I wouldn't like to say. This spear infantry are obviously facing off against higher tier infantry, and we've got some Praetorians coming in here, which is obviously going to be harder. Ooh, there, a very effective charge there. Oh, they really are completely naked warriors. Interesting battle lineup. Our Praetorian cavalry could be a good move there. Effective straight slam into the back of the Romans. Oh, looks like they're going to rout one of their cohorts, which has obviously been a very good move. They're going to regain the morale in a second, though. Yeah, there they go. And looks like those Praetorians are going to struggle. I think we're going to end up losing this battle, to be honest. Our spear infantry are too sort of low rank to be able to hold hold against these tier 9 Praetorians. They're just such a high tier unit that they're obviously just so superior. And they can't hold this phalanx to hold them off. They're taking too many casualties. They've lost that fight there. And even these Eagle cohorts looks like they're going to win against the tier 7 barbarians. So it looks like it's going to be a defeat, unfortunately. A couple of spearmen trying to hold off an Eagle cohort, but I don't think that's going to work out for them. Now, it's at this point that you wish, I really wish I'd been able to keep out away from that noble horse and survive longer. You know, they'll really be able to contribute in this last little bit of the battle. This is where every unit really counts to try and stay alive. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's to be. I guess our Legatus here is trying to capture, which was probably an error, to be honest. If the Legatus had made a proper stand back at base, you know, these tier 10s would have really tipped the tide of the battle. Instead, they're sort of at the enemy base capturing. I get what they're trying to do, but I think if they'd made a fight, this fight would have tipped in our favour over here, and we wouldn't now be in this situation. I see what he's trying to do is trying to get back to do a reset while having 2 units capture, and he probably will get back in time, maybe. But it seems unlikely he's going to be able to make a massive contribution here. It's interesting to see what the bonuses you get with the Legatus are. Ray shield, so you get increased missile block. Encourage, so we lose like the weapon boost and instead get a morale boost again, which is obviously not something I'm particularly enjoyed on the tier 6 Equites. But he gets a massive bonus to his plus 129 morale when he uses Oath of Perseverance. That is quite something. Obviously Wrath of Mars gets the impact damage bonus. And Warcry, which obviously is always an effective move. That one little horse did actually do a little bit of damage. I don't think this Equite is going to make much of a dent against the Praetorians, though. No. A little bit, but it's not going to be enough to set this cap in time. Because these guys are still going to cap far quicker than Argo. Oh, now that was a bit of a better reset. The question now is whether we can cap in time, and are all the enemy forces in the base? I assume he'd entered Oath of Perseverance, which he has. Which obviously, look at that defense, 1400 defense. That gives him a massive boost to his defense, and obviously he's still got really high morale, even though he's completely outnumbered. I wonder if that move is going to be enough to have allowed him to tip the balance in our favour. It may well have been. It depends if any enemy units have gone back to try and defend their base. And it depends how quickly now they can begin to cap compared to these 2 remaining Legatus units. We actually managed to get 2 units out of the fight as well. So he might be able to go in and have another shot at trying to defend. Oh dear. It's a very solid charge. We've got the one little unit there. And he's going to rout. And there he goes. Well, it's not the most riveting end to this video as I had intended. I guess I'll use this opportunity to, while we're waiting for this battle to finish, because we've got to see what happens, to say if you're new to this channel, do subscribe. We've got lots of Total War Arena content continuing to come. We're going to have a little bit of a look at the Roman infantry tech tree soon as well, particularly look. It's not something I really play very much. I'm really a cavalry player through and through at heart. But I'd quite like to have a look at the I think I've got the tier 4, the Hastati, but they're very close to the Principe. So I would like to have a look at those 2 units. And maybe have a look at going down the Roman infantry line like we have been with the Roman and Barbarian cavalry tech trees as well. I do have a reasonable amount of streaming of Total War Arena on Twitch. There should be a link to my Twitch channel in the description so you can have a look at that. It's always good to drop by on a stream, say hello, ask any questions you might have. Things like that. And yeah, we're going to be having a lot more Total War Arena content coming up shortly. But hopefully, this is going to be a victory. It's going to be pretty close, but I think we're not actually even going to be that close. They are capping quicker than us, but we're still going to be able to do this and get the victory, I think. It's just a painful ending. I hope we're not going to run out of time as well, because obviously, if you don't know, once the timer runs out, the team which has the most units ends up winning. So if the timer ended now, before without capture, then we would lose because they have 111 man compared to our 62. But I don't think it is. I think we're going to cap just in time ahead of them, as long as they don't have a random unit of swordsmen diving out of the forest. Then we are going to win it. Any second now. There we go. We have the victory with 17 seconds left to go. That was making full use of the battle timer. So we didn't contribute loads in that battle. And we had a very good start with those Blood Raiders. That panned out well. That was trying to pre-predict the enemy units' movements, where they're going to emerge. Even though they're quicker than us, we're trying to force a fight on them by using our sort of maneuverability and pre-predicting where they're going to emerge, because they had really no choice. So it was kind of an obvious exit from that forest. Then things went a little bit worse. Obviously, we struggled a lot. That the enemy were obviously a lot higher tier. And then that noble horse, when he decided to come for us, that sort of forced my hand, or I felt I didn't have a lot of choice but to turn and make a last-ditch stand, because otherwise I'd just be run down from behind. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It gives you a little bit of an idea of what these Legionary Cavalry are like. Very similar to the Equites, but I think they're going to be a very solid unit. They just struggle a little bit on the matchmaking, but that's not the unit's fault, that's the matchmaking's fault. So thanks for watching, guys, and I shall see you on the next video.